Welcome, friend. I'm James, your host, and today, we're diving into another captivating episode. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and get ready for a powerful story that's sure to resonate. If something hits home, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive in. I'm exposing the woman my ex cheated on me with, a dramatic tale from LA. Trigger warning, cheating, betrayal, drama. So, here's the story, Reddit. Buckle up because it's a wild ride. It all started about 30 days ago, and let me tell you, it feels like a lifetime. My ex, 35M, and I had been together for 7 years, and everything seemed fine until it wasn't. I was blissfully unaware that he was involved with a married woman, 33F, who, as it turns out, had orchestrated a secret escape plan to run off with him. It felt like a plot straight out of a thriller, but instead, I was living this nightmare in the heart of Los Angeles, where glitz and glamour masked the dark underbelly of deceit and betrayal. It's funny how you can be so close to someone, sharing your life and dreams, and yet be completely in the dark about their hidden intentions. The calm before the storm. For weeks, we were living together in our modest LA apartment, a space that once felt like home but had turned into a war zone. Picture this, the soft hum of traffic outside, the sun setting over the Hollywood Hills, casting a golden hue on everything it touched. Inside, however, our relationship was disintegrating into chaos. One moment, we'd be sharing a laugh over dinner, reminiscing about our early days together, and the next, we'd be screaming at each other over something as trivial as a misplaced sock. It was like living in a poorly scripted reality show, with producers choosing all the worst angles to highlight our imploding relationship. The tension was palpable, creeping into our conversations and lingering in the air like an uninvited guest. I could sense it building between us, like a storm brewing on the horizon. My heart was heavy with unease, and it was becoming harder to ignore the gnawing feeling that something was seriously wrong. The intimacy we once shared was fading, replaced by cold silence and the occasional sharp exchange that cut deeper than I wanted to admit. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if the love we had was a mere illusion, a facade that was crumbling beneath the weight of betrayal. Then came the day that pushed me over the edge. I had been doing him a favor, driving him to work after his car broke down. I thought I was being supportive, a good partner, but the universe had other plans. He casually asked for a lift to the gym, where I also intended to go. Then, he dropped a bombshell that shattered what little faith I had left. You can't come because she's there, and you make her uncomfortable. Those words sliced through me like a knife, leaving a wound that would never fully heal. I felt a surge of emotions, shock, disbelief, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. How could he say that to me, after everything we had shared? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. With tears welling up, I told him there was no way I would change my plans for her benefit. The moment of truth. His response? He called me cruel and horrible for not being supportive of their so-called love. I was done. I laughed in his face, a mix of disbelief and anger swirling inside me, and kicked him out of my car. My heart raced as I drove home, fists clenched, fueled by a whirlwind of emotions. The image of him with her flashed through my mind like a haunting specter, and I was determined to take control of this situation. I couldn't let him belittle me or make me feel small anymore. I packed all his things in a frenzy, tossing aside memories of happier times as I mentally prepared myself for the confrontation that was to come. I drove over to his mother's house, heart pounding, feeling like I was on a mission. As I threw his belongings out of my car, each item that hit the pavement felt like a release, a cleansing of the hurt he had caused. I was done playing the victim. I called his mother to come get the stuff before it was stolen, relishing the thought of him sitting on the sidelines, watching his life unravel. I didn't care anymore, I had finally taken a stand for myself. It was liberating in a way I hadn't anticipated. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. No more pretending, no more forced smiles. I was ready to reclaim my narrative, to redefine my life without him. Going after the other woman, but I wasn't finished. The taste of revenge lingered in my mouth like a fine wine, intoxicating and thrilling. I hopped in my car, the city lights of LA blurring past me as I made my way to the other woman's house. The anticipation was electrifying. I was ready to expose her and everything she had done. This was it, the moment of truth. I felt like a detective about to reveal a crucial piece of evidence, and my heart raced with the adrenaline of confrontation. I rehearsed what I would say in my mind, each line echoing with resolve as I drove through the bustling streets, the neon lights flashing by like a montage of my former life. When I finally arrived at her house, I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decision settle over me. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding in my chest. When her family opened it, I was hit with a mix of fear and determination. They had no idea what their daughter was doing, and I knew I had to lay it all out for them. I took another deep breath, steeling myself for what was about to unfold. I laid it all out, screenshots of the messages, photos, and every sordid detail I had collected. Her father-in-law's face turned crimson with rage as I spoke, while her mother looked like she was about to faint. I could see the shock wash over them, their world crumbling as they processed the betrayal their daughter had inflicted on everyone involved. The tension in the room was palpable, and I could practically feel the air thickening with disbelief. Their initial disbelief quickly transformed into a frenzy of emotions, anger, confusion, and betrayal. They tried to play it off, insisting it was all just couples' sex games, but I had enough evidence to shatter that facade. I could feel the weight of the truth settling in the room, heavy and undeniable. The truth was, this woman was aware of me and my relationship with her partner, and she had chosen betrayal over loyalty. I felt a surge of power as I watched them react, their once united front crumbling before my eyes. The fallout. Meanwhile, her husband learned the shocking truth. She had already consulted with lawyers about how to divorce him while keeping her citizenship. The family's reaction was chaotic, filled with accusations and tears. It was a dramatic scene, with emotions running high as they tried to piece together the puzzle of their shattered family. Her husband was in disbelief, struggling to reconcile the image of the woman he loved with the reality of her deceit. In the midst of it all, he realized the extent of her betrayal and the emotional devastation he faced. I watched as he fell apart, the realization hitting him like a tidal wave, while I felt a mix of satisfaction and guilt. I never wanted to hurt him, but justice was needed, and it seemed the only way to achieve it was by shining a light on the darkness that had enveloped all of us. Fast forward a few days, and I got the news that she had blocked my ex on all platforms. She was cutting ties and scrambling to cover her tracks. My ex had no idea what was coming. He thought he was in the clear. Little did he know, I was just getting started. I had become the architect of my own revenge, and the satisfaction of seeing her life spiral out of control was exhilarating. I felt like a hunter, stalking my prey, and the thrill of it all coursed through my veins. Every time I thought about my ex and the pain he caused me, the flames of my resolve burned brighter. I returned his car to the dealership, severing one last tie to the life we had built together. As I walked away, I felt lighter, unburdened by the weight of his lies. I had found a cute little one-bedroom place just 10 minutes away, a sanctuary with a garden for my dogs. It felt like I was shedding the weight of a toxic relationship, even if it meant losing my deposit and owing for damages. But at that point, I didn't care. Freedom tasted sweet, and I was ready to embrace it, eager to start anew in a place where I could finally find peace. The unexpected encounter, but then an unexpected twist unfolded. I bumped into her husband at the gym. He was there alone, looking like a man who had just walked through hell and back. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he had that vacant look of someone who had been shattered by betrayal. I felt a rush of emotions, sadness for him, anger for what he'd been put through, and a strange sense of camaraderie. I couldn't let this moment pass without trying to help him. I had seen the damage caused by deceit, and I didn't want him to feel alone in this battle. I decided to approach him, my heart pounding in my chest. We talked, and he opened up about his feelings of betrayal and disbelief. He had his suspicions about her infidelity, but had tried to convince himself that they could work it out. The moment I showed him the evidence, his face fell, and it was like watching a light flicker out, replaced by despair. It was gut-wrenching, knowing I had contributed to his pain, but I couldn't let his grief deter me from seeking justice. I felt the weight of my decision pressing down on me, but it also felt like a necessary step toward closure for both of us. He asked for time to gather more proof, like finding the sex toys my ex had bought for her. My heart ached for him. This man had been blindsided, and it felt wrong to have contributed to his pain, even if it was for a good reason. We forged a plan together. If they proceeded with an amicable divorce, she'd be deported in 60 days. But if I could prove she had lied about her visa situation, she'd face a much harsher fate. I felt a surge of adrenaline thinking about the justice that was within our grasp. Cheating isn't illegal, but lying to secure a visa? That was a different ballgame entirely. It was as if we were two warriors, united in our battle against a common enemy, determined to reclaim our lives. We exchanged contact information, and I promised to keep him updated on my findings, while he began gathering his own evidence. The camaraderie we built over shared pain was both unexpected and comforting, like a lifeline thrown to a drowning sailor. The end game. As days turned into weeks, I felt a sense of determination coursing through me. I became almost methodical in my pursuit of exposing her. I began digging deeper, searching for any additional evidence I could find. Late at night, I would scroll through social media profiles, connecting dots, and piecing together the timeline of her lies. The more I uncovered, the more I felt like a detective on a case that needed solving. Each discovery brought a thrill that made the sting of betrayal feel less acute. I decided to dig into her online presence, hoping to uncover any further clues about her manipulation. I found her social media accounts filled with images that painted a picture of a perfect life, a life that stood in stark contrast to the chaos she had created. It infuriated me to see her flaunting her happiness while tearing apart two families behind the scenes. I couldn't let her continue to live in this fantasy while my world had been turned upside down. I started gathering all the evidence I could find, screenshots, and copies of messages, anything that would build a solid case against her. It became an obsession, a mission that consumed my thoughts. The closer I got to the day of reckoning, the more I felt a mix of excitement and fear. Would she crumble under the weight of her deceit? Would her husband finally see the truth? I replayed the scenarios in my mind, imagining their reactions when the truth finally hit them. The thought made me giddy, a bittersweet sense of justice fueling my resolve. Finally, the day arrived when we had arranged to meet with her husband again. We found a quiet cafe, a neutral ground where we could speak openly without fear of being overheard. As he arrived, his expression was a mix of anxiety and determination, mirroring my own feelings. We exchanged pleasantries, but it was clear that the tension in the air was thick with anticipation. I could feel my heart pounding as we dove into the details, sharing what we had discovered since our last meeting. The conversation flowed with an urgency that was almost electric. He laid out the evidence he had gathered, texts, receipts, even a few items that would prove she was not the innocent partner she had claimed to be. I presented my findings as well, detailing everything I had uncovered about her past and her deceptive behavior. Together, we pieced together a damning case against her, and with each new revelation, I could see his resolve strengthen. It was like watching a warrior prepare for battle, and I felt empowered to be part of this journey toward justice. As we concluded our meeting, we made a pact to take action. We agreed that he would confront her, and I would support him as best as I could. The thought of seeing her face when the truth came crashing down made my heart race with exhilaration. It was time to unleash the storm we had been brewing. The final confrontation, we decided to confront her together. The plan was to meet at her home, where we would lay bare the evidence and give her no choice but to face the truth. The day of the confrontation arrived, and I felt a mix of nerves and excitement bubbling within me. We arrived at her house, my heart pounding as we approached the door. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to take the plunge. When she opened the door, surprise flickered across her face, quickly replaced by confusion. "What are you two doing here?" she asked, a hint of nervousness in her voice. I exchanged a knowing glance with her husband, and it was clear we were both ready for this moment. "Let's talk," he said firmly, stepping into the living room. I followed close behind, feeling a surge of adrenaline. The atmosphere was thick with tension as we took our seats, and I could see the realization dawning on her. She sensed the gravity of the situation. As we laid out the evidence, I watched her face change from confusion to panic. The color drained from her face as she realized we were not there for a friendly chat. We had come to expose her. Her husband started recounting everything he had uncovered, the texts, the plans she had made to leave him, the lies she had told. I added my own findings, detailing how she had manipulated both of our lives, using her charm as a weapon. The room felt heavy with the truth, and I could sense her world unraveling before our eyes. For a moment, she tried to deny everything, claiming we were misunderstanding her intentions. But the evidence was irrefutable, and as we presented our case, I could see her facade crumbling. She finally broke down, tears streaming down her cheeks as the weight of her deception crushed her. The moment felt cathartic for both of us. It was as if we were watching the final act of a tragic play unfold, where the antagonist was finally exposed. The aftermath. As the dust settled from our confrontation, I could see her husband processing everything. He was a mix of anger and sadness, grappling with the reality of what had just happened. I felt a twinge of sympathy for him. He didn't deserve this pain, but he had been given the opportunity to reclaim his life, to move forward without her poison. I stepped back, giving them space to process the whirlwind of emotions. I knew this moment was a turning point for both of us. For him, it was a chance to heal and rebuild. For me, it was about reclaiming my narrative, moving forward, and finally closing the door on a painful chapter of my life. As days turned into weeks after the confrontation, I felt lighter, unburdened by the weight of the lies that had plagued me. My new apartment began to feel like a sanctuary, a place where I could breathe and rebuild my life. I focused on self-care, spending time with friends, and rediscovering the things that brought me joy. It was a refreshing change, one that filled my heart with hope for the future. I occasionally checked in with her husband, who was slowly piecing his life back together. He had decided to pursue divorce proceedings, determined to move forward without the shackles of her deceit. I felt a sense of pride knowing I had played a part in helping him see the truth and take control of his life. The new chapter, life, continued to move forward, and as I settled into my new routine, I realized how far I had come. The scars of betrayal would always remain, but they no longer defined me. I had emerged from the ashes of heartbreak stronger and more resilient than ever. The experience had taught me invaluable lessons about trust, love, and the importance of standing up for myself. I began to explore new hobbies, join classes, and connect with new people, eager to embrace the life I had always wanted. I found solace in my dogs, who were my constant companions, bringing joy and laughter into my days. Every moment felt like a step toward healing, a reminder that I was deserving of love and happiness. Reflecting on everything I had been through, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the journey. The betrayal, the confrontation, and the subsequent liberation had opened my eyes to a world filled with possibilities. I was ready to embrace a new chapter, one where I was the author of my own story. Conclusion. And so, this is my story, a saga of heartbreak and revenge, but ultimately, a journey towards self-discovery and empowerment. While it may not have ended the way I initially thought, it led me to a path of healing and newfound strength. I've learned that while betrayal can shatter trust, it can also ignite a fire within you to rise above the ashes and reclaim your life. TLDR, I exposed the woman my ex cheated on me with, and we confronted her together. She faced the consequences of her actions while her husband began the process of rebuilding his life. I moved on, finding strength in my journey toward healing and self-discovery.